Welcome to the NASCAR pre-race show. Today we are at Grant Park in Chicago, Illinois. Today we're going to be covering topics such as track specs, how the track came to be, what goes into building the track, and who's going to win today's race. The Chicago Street Course according to NASCAR 101, is a 2.2 mile street circuit with 12 turns, 3 left and 9 right. The track is similar to a figure eight. It drives on streets Columbus Drive, Lakeshore Drive, and Michigan Ave. But to know how the track came to be, we first have to go to the background. So on March 24th, 2021, iRacing held its very first event at the NASCAR Street Circuit, which there was a lot that was learned from it and a lot that needed to change. And so iRacing is a racing simulator. It's one of the most realistic simulators out there because the iRacing team actually goes to every single track and laser scans every single part of the track. And they also use geo scanning. So like it's basically a 1-to-1 scale of the actual track, but online. And iRacing, basically a bunch of people just race on it. It's like racing in real life, but it's way cheaper and you can do it from home. So saves a lot of money for people. And like, you can make a lot of money by doing iRacing. Like my little brother, he's really good at iRacing. He's made over $100, but because of school and stuff, he doesn't really have the time. But moving on. So the very first race had the NASCAR Pro Invitational Series, which was the highest level that you could achieve in NASCAR. But that's because at the time, there was a pandemic going around. So all the real NASCAR drivers, they had to race online. Well, they didn't have to, but it was to bring enjoyment to the fans and stuff during the off season when they couldn't race online. Well, when they couldn't race in person. So, and then, yeah, there was a lot that went into having the race online. There was a lot that was learned. But Stuart Hicks, one thing that they learned from having the race online, they realized that the race was way too hard to run just because of the way that the track was set up and everything. So, yeah, it was one thing that they learned is that it was really hard to pass, and they used the crash data from the race to figure out where to make adjustments in the video game. And then once they made those adjustments in the video game, that they tested it to see how it went and stuff. So there was a lot of areas where there was little to no grip. So they had to go and repave that in the game. But once they did that, they redid it in real life. That allowed the racing to be a lot better in the game, and thus in real life too. It was really hard to pass there. So they had to add, they adjusted corners by either making them wider, moving the apex, which is the center of the corner, in towards more towards the entrance of the corner, thus allowing like the exit to be a lot wider and everyone to be able to extend the corner and allow them to be better set up for the next corner. Also, the main corners that needed fixing were turns 1 and turn 6. So I've actually went to the race. These are photos from the race that I went to. I didn't take them though. I wish I did. But I actually watched Kyle Larson here in the 5 crash into that wall. And then Alex Bowman actually won this race. That's turn 1 right there. It's very, I don't know, it likes to sweep out. But because rain plays a major factor in this race, well, it has the last 2 years, makes it really difficult to have like green flag laps, so it's really hard to see. Let's see. But so using the crash data from the online race, it was, let's see, they learned a lot from it because it was very realistic and stuff. But the barriers that were used are a very important part, and also so is the catch fence, which just mounts on top of the barrier. But the barriers are 12 12 feet long by 4 feet high, and every single one weighs 10,000 pounds. And 2,200 of them go into building the track. And because they're so heavy and so large, they can only be delivered 4 at a time on one semi-truck. So that's over 500 trips of them, which that's a lot to bring to downtown Omaha and back. Well, not downtown Omaha, downtown Chicago. And then, so we're going to talk about who's going to win today's race. As I talked about before, rain plays a very major part in this. That's because the last so the car is special because it's the very first NASCAR that's actually like able to run during the race because of the suspension setup. It's independent, so they don't have to move together. Well, the rear doesn't. So that allows like one to be lower, one to be higher to provide the most amount of grip. And also the tires play a major fact, as we can see here. These are slicks. Obviously you won't get any grip with those in the wet just because it will hydroplane easily. Then these are the wets, and they look like a normal wheel that you'd find on your car. It's grooved, helps push the water out and off the surface, thus allowing you to race faster. So right when the track starts to dry and the cars get back out there, they always start on wets, which that allows us to get back to racing faster, which is kind of nice, especially when you spend the whole day there like we did, which was not very fun, but it was still awesome. And then, so here's a picture from this year's race that I went to. That's Alex Bowman. And then, he's your 2024 winner. He took the lead on the last 8 laps, which this was his first win, I think, in 55 races. So that's a lot for being that high up. And he's really consistent. He drives for Hendrick Motorsports. So that's pretty cool. If I didn't have work today, I would have brought some of the hats that are associated with most of these drivers. And then I also got a NASCAR street race one. That's very cool. I was going to wear that one today. But so the very first year, this is Shane Van Gisbergen, SVG to some people. He comes from New Zealand. He also took the lead in the last 8 laps, allowing him to win last year. And rain also played a major factor in that one, but it wasn't as bad. Another thing that's not mentioned in the slideshow is that he won, so the very first year, he also won the Xfinity Series, which is like a lower class compared to the NASCAR one. And then that allowed him, I don't know, to get a guaranteed spot next year in Cup Series, which that's what this is, Cup Series, just because it's the best of the best, so everyone wants to be up there. And then this is SVJ. I bought the model, so they often come out with model cars that are very similar to like race 1, so they have all the damage and stuff. So I got one of those. It's pretty cool. And then, so down in New Zealand, SVG used to race V8 supercars, which are very similar to NASCARs or stock cars, just because they're set up like a normal supercar and stuff, but they're V8 powered and stuff like that, and they're very heavy, so that allows them to slide and do stuff like that. And then, so today we talked about the track specs, how the track came to be, what goes into building the track, and who's going to win today's race. So let's go racing.